Hey guys, we are live. This is Jennifer with the Shooter's Mindset. Got Greg Cannon, our co-host here.
Hey everyone.
And our guests of the hour. This is episode 320 with Matt Stiner and Keith Baker. How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you guys doing tonight?
Hello, everybody.
And there it is. It's the turkey.
Yes,
Greg
it
Moore,
is.
Greg Moore, I hope you're on, buddy, because you called the over-under, didn't even make it a minute.
Wow.
Awesome.
Would you like to share what this is going to be, Matt?
So I was toying with the idea that we should probably have some kind of a consumption game. Every time that turkey buzzes, we've got to take a sip. I'll start with a glass of water and be responsible.
That'll last about 5 minutes.
Oh, my word. Goodness, this could get interesting really quickly. It might be another hay show.
Right.
Oh, good.
So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll start with you, Keith. For anybody that's unfamiliar with you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got your start in precision rifle shooting, and how you got to be Team MDT.
So I've been a competitor my whole life. Like 5 years old, I started shooting archery competitions. My dad had me doing all that. Won my actual first national competition at 5. Never finished it. I shot maybe as a 12-stage match or whatever, and I shot 9, and I ended up winning. And then my dad wouldn't let me take the trophy home because I wanted to go play on the swings with 2 to go instead of actually, finishing. So he gave it to the second place person. And from that point on, that kept me from ever not finishing something I started. I was madder than hell, but because that was the first time I got the big trophy and thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And he wouldn't let me do it. And I'm sure I cried and had all kinds of other things, but the next time I finished. So, gosh, I went from that. I went to racing for a bunch of years, started driving race cars at 12. My dad had a chassis shop, built race cars, had a machine shop down the road. I was building engines at that point for the race cars, through into college. And then went to school for mechanical engineering. Got out of school, and while I was going to school, worked at Summit Racing for 9 years, building race cars and working in their tech and R&D department. And then somehow I got into heating and air, hunted my whole life, always hunted from the time, like I said, I shot my first deer with a bow when I was 8 or 10 years old, which back then was a different thing because they didn't have crossbows. I had to work every week to pull back 40 pounds, So then eventually I got into competitive fishing for years, and then I cut my thumb off and they put it back on, but it doesn't work like it used to. And I couldn't fish competitively anymore. So I seen this really cool thing called Precision Rifle on a Netflix episode. It was a USASOC competition that they showed. I thought it was the coolest thing I ever seen. Spent 2 years trying to figure out how to do it, or where I could find one. I found a couple hints of a mammoth and a Allegheny, but you could never find out where or how to do it. And then one day I ran into a guy named Dave-O, which a lot of the old timers probably know Dave. He was one of the more towards the original guys. I ran into him at a range. He had this really cool rifle with this, spiral fluted barrel that, looked like a barber post. And I said, wow, what do you do with that? He says, I shoot things a long way away. And I'm like, well, yeah, but what do you really do? And he says, I do these little, tactical competitions. I'm like, well, what's that? And then he says, he told me that it was, more like a precision rifle. And he kind of hinted into exactly what it was. And I'm like, you're the guy I want to meet. So, show me what I need to know. I've been trying to find this for 2 years. Then he directed me down to the Precision Rifle Series blog at that point, which was a good resource, helped me with my first build and introduced me to all the right people and taught me, how to get started in the game, what to buy, how to do it. And then a long time later, I started, got in the game, met the greatest people I ever met in my life, kind of didn't care about anything else and focused on it 100%. Fortunately, MDT picked me up last year. I'm so glad to be a part of them. They're about the coolest company I've run into in this game. The they're always, trying to do everything the right way and build the best products they can. And I end up finding my way as a van pilot. And Matt's he's more like the seat agitator most of the time. He doesn't drive.
Is he the co-pilot or the master?
Oh my God! Here we go.
No. Matt. We're just going to get started right into this. Matt is not a pilot. Okay. Matt drives for about 10 minutes on every 10-hour drive. He does sit in the passenger seat and doesn't allow anybody else in there. And he'll drive, until it's dark, but of course he can't leave till dark. So the whole night of driving.
Whoa. I can't leave till it's dark. You're the mayor of, PRSville. You're the guy that has to say you kiss every baby, you shake every hand you can shake. That's how you roll, brother.
I'm talking going to the match, Matt.
I'm talking coming
Everybody
home.
knows you don't drive home.
That's why I have a few beers before we leave. It just ensures that I don't have to drive.
Right. So after the match, he's sure to have 3 or 4 beers. He's like, well, I can't drive for another 7-8 hours. Well, that's daylight, right? So, anyway, so it's kind of a rough idea how I got into it. And then been shooting MDT, and man, I'm really glad to be a part of that. And then Matt come along, and he's like the guy that keeps the seat warm most of the time beside me.
So he's like the MDT mascot.
A mascot is a real good. Show me your mascot, Matt.
I've got a panda.
Right.
I got a panda mascot.
There's Matt's mascot. Right?
That's my spirit animal.
I got mauled by a panda once, but we're not going to talk about it.
I'm actually kind of jealous. Baker, you got yourself a spirit animal too, because I gave you one last year.
Yeah, mine's right here.
No, use the other side. Let's see the bumblebee,
Let's see
brother.
it. You have
Let's
to
see
show
that
it.
bumblebee. Yes.
Oh, it's so cute.
He's a happy bumblebee.
We'll do it like when I was younger, right?
So Matt, how about you? For anybody unfamiliar with you, how did you get into shooting and then end up in the van with Keith?
Well, I don't have that long of a story like Keith did, where he's just came down this story trail of competition and everything. But like most kids, I started shooting rimfire back in the day. Grew up hunting with my dad, stuff like that. So I was out in my grandma's farm, shooting pop cans and stuff with the 22, having a good time. But shortly after that, I made the choice to be involved in sports, and I played football from about the time I was in 7th grade until I graduated from college. So 12 years of football, kind of didn't leave much time for anything else. It wasn't until probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, that I got back into it. And I came across, a couple of the podcasts and a couple of videos on YouTube of, guys just shooting long range. I'm like, that looks really cool. I've never been the guy that likes to shoot machine guns and hundreds of thousands of rounds. I'd rather be accurate. So I said, okay, let's try this. So I bought myself a 308, dove into reloading, just followed Sniper's Hide, followed all the little podcasts, trying to figure stuff out one day at a time. And damn, you can't get a factory Remington to shoot for shit. So I started, I went through 2 Remington 700s, just trying to get a 308 to shoot pretty good. And I watched 168 AMAXs at 600 yards go left and right. And I'm like, what's going on? And I started searching around, and, about that time I found, Mark Gordon, and I called Mark up, and he goes, he invited me out, and I sat down with him, and he talked to me like we were best friends for life. And at that point in time, that's what sold me on, having Mark build me a rifle. So I said, all right, Mark, I want a 6.5 Creed. I want it to hammer, make it happen. And so I put my first order in. Within 6 months, I'm like, I need a 223 now, because at that point I was starting to make that transition where I didn't like to just shoot on my belly anymore. I wanted to shoot a little bit, it got a little bit boring for me. So I started, I shot a big dog steel match down at a local range. And I think that was when I first started to get that hunger for the competition in the PRS world. And I didn't look back. I kind of just pinned my ears back and just kind of went, completely forward with everything. Found a range. We could talk about that down, a little bit later, but found a range, and I was fortunate enough that the lady that was running the range gave me the opportunity to start running matches and putting stuff on. And as I would go to matches, I would kind of keep honing my craft. And God, I'm averaging 45 matches a year I'm putting on. And it's just crazy. It's been a whirlwind of fun. And, you know, in the midst of me running these matches, I met up with guys like Keith and Dave Preston and Ken Sanofsky and Dave O. A lot of these guys that, you know, Keith was mentioning, and I just kind of sat back and I would watch what they did. I wasn't the guy that, you know, was, hey, how do you do this? Or why do you do this? I just watched and learned. And, you know, as I grew and I grew and I grew, you know, Keith and I started shooting together, and we started a lot of training hours about 3 years ago. I think we probably burned out a couple 223s in, you know, a year. You know, just, I remember a day 17 below, and Keith and I were at the range for 8 hours. And we had 3 other guys that showed up that wanted to shoot. And it was, okay, what stage are we going to run right now? And we were for 8 straight hours. And it was great because your barrel never got hot.
Best part about it is you didn't burn your thumb laying it alongside the barrel back then, because at least it cooled off that time, and you didn't have to worry about that blister the next 3 days.
And you didn't have primer issues. So you could just shoot for hours and hours and hours. You'd bring 300 or 400 rounds to the range and go through them all.
No blowing primers. I don't know anything about that.
So, you know, and that path that I took through running matches, you know, meeting up with Keith, it gave me that opportunity to then shoot with MDT. And I can't, like Keith said, I can't tell you enough. Anytime I've ever needed anything, they call me, you know, all the time, checking up on me, seeing if I need anything, how I'm doing. I get messages from them constantly. They're really super great company, and I can't be, you know, more proud to be a part of them.
So Ken Wheeler says that I think he's glad that you went to shooting, Matt, because he says that you tackle like a little girl.
Well, if we're going to bring that up, you know, that's that infamous
beanbag,
the numero uno bags from Wisconsin that everybody hated. And I don't know, I took him down pretty good. I took him down so good that his wife gave me a bottle of wine to celebrate that fantastic victory right there.
That is true. You did get a bottle of wine. I remember.
I did.
Not the only one to get a bottle of wine.
That was great.
That was a fun match. Great experience.
Yeah.
That was fun. So Keith, tell us a little bit about ice rifles and how it got started and what all services you offer. Kind of give us the down low on it.
So I, like Matt, started building that rifle, you know, built my first rifle. Of course, at that time I needed the fastest, hottest 6.5 I could possibly get. And I went to this 6.5 Swede improved that shot 130 and 140 grain burgers at 3150 because the speed limit was 32, right? You know, it was just an insane ground pounding monster that ate barrels up really, really fast and had a lot of recoil, and I didn't know better. But it was the hot thing, right? I mean, the best shooters all had 6.5 47s, and that was kind of where it was at. The sport had evolved to that point, or to that far. So in the 260 30 degree was, you know, according to the Precision Rifle Series blog at that time, the hottest caliber out there. So I'm like, well, if that's hot, I'll go hotter, right? So anyway, I went with the biggest, fastest thing I could fit in a short action. And I shot it for about 3 barrels, which wasn't very long. Then the world had evolved to 6mm. Dave Preston had been running 647 for a year or two, and he was, you know, stomping people with it left and right. And so was most of the other better shooters in the country. So 647 was the next route, right? And so I kept going through these calibers, and I got down to Dasher. And the problem is these PRS shooters, man, you know, first I'm like, I'll buy 100 pieces of brass and that'll get me through because, you know, that's what I'm going to do. And I buy another 100 and I buy another 100. Well, then hell, we're going to lose brass. What is this? So eventually I got into these, you know, started shooting more and more and more in bigger events. And I'm finding out I got to buy 400, 500, 1,000 pieces of brass. And then I couldn't get the stuff to go from chamber to chamber without getting a click at the top or something like that, because, you know, technology and gunsmithing has moved a long way recently too. You know, there's 20 different ways to do things. They all seem to shoot pretty good, but you know, now we're using, instead of buying a new barrel and new box of brass or new boxes of brass, now we're doing 3 or 4 barrels or 2 or 3 barrels, and we want that brass to line up on them all. And I wasn't getting that. And I was headache after headache. I just couldn't get I'd spend $500, which is a lot of money on brass, or $600, right? You know, at the time. And I'm like, yeah, finally save up. I buy all this brass. I shoot this barrel out in 5 months, 4 months. And now all my brass doesn't work. And then I'm trying to fight the next problem. And it was a nightmare. So there was a few great gunsmiths out there across the country, you know, but most of them, like Matt said, 6 months to get your rifle at the time, or, you know, or longer. And hell, I wanted to do this right now. And I couldn't wait, and I couldn't really afford to spend the money and wait that long. Right. You know, I couldn't spend $1,000 and not see it come, or $2,000 or $3,000. I needed $1,000 and spend it today, because if I wait 6 months, I'm going to need something better to spend it on. So with the machining background, and I started to learn a little bit more, I started doing all my own stuff, and then I started doing some friends' stuff, and I was, you know, found better ways, better processes that, which is what some of the better gun shops around the country was using. And as I picked up on some of that, I started doing my version of that, and it worked out pretty good. Had no desire to ever be a gunsmith. My goal was, I had a really successful heating and air conditioning company for 20 years. You know, it was a small shop, fed the family, made good money, had to work a lot of hours a lot of the time, didn't get to see my kids a whole lot, but it was kind of the thing. But then the world changed a little bit. I realized my kids are growing up. I'm never going to see them. I hadn't gone on vacation with my family in like 8 years. I didn't need to work as hard as I had been working. And I wanted to, and I met these amazing people over a few years of the PRS. I mean, my whole life, I meet 2 or 3 people I like, right? I mean, I go 25 years and find 3 good people. And then I meet this community of people, and I meet like 50, 100 great people, you know, like right now, like almost everybody I meet, better than half of them I really, really like, and the rest of them I like pretty well. And that's not something I've seen in competitive fishing or anything else. And I needed to find a way that, knowing that I'm getting older, I'm not able to be competitive in this field for a long time. Like, I mean, the curve's going like this, and I'm already on this side, right? So I've only got a few more years of being able to compete and being tied to these people forever. And I needed to find a way to do that.
There's always senior division.
Dude, I'm going to be super senior. So by that time, all my parts are broke: shoulders, elbows, wrists. I've had all the nerves taken out of this wrist, and all the nerves taken out of this shoulder. And yeah, fishing's not good for the body.
That means you're ahead of everybody else then, because everything doesn't hurt on you on day 2 of the match.
It doesn't, but it just breaks.
He's a fine-tuned machine.
I'm fine-tuned. So I decided to sell the business and move in a little more into this. My wife's like, you know, we really don't need that much more in life right now. We're good. Sell the business, find a way to do what you want to do. I wanted to be tied to these people forever. You people, you know, it just, they're the greatest people I ever met. So I, fortunately, being a competitive shooter and knowing a lot of competitive shooters, I was able to travel the country over the last couple of years and tour some pretty amazing gun shops, right? So, you know, I go into one and they're like, hey, if you want to do this, let's do it right. So they would show me, hey, let's do it this way. And you know, I go down to them boys at Hawk Hill, you know, I mean, they're fantastic guys. Sean's a hell of a tool maker, and they're, you know, incredibly smart. And Steven's just a genius with the software side. And I'm like, I knew all that stuff from back years ago when I was building cars and doing all that stuff. So I went and learned SolidWorks and spent a couple of years of doing that, and then going and looking at everybody's manual process and looking at their CNC process. The ones that, this community is great. They're like, hey, come look and see what we're doing, and let's do it right. There's plenty of work for everybody. Let's all work together and build a better process. So I took the best manual guys' processes and the best CNC guys' process, and I itemized everything. And I'm like, okay, well, this has got a problem here and this has got a problem there. And I like what this does, but this isn't as repeatable. And I just basically kept cataloging everything as what the good and bads were. And then I took that system and kind of come down with my own, bought a, CNC machine and some other stuff, and melded the two together and said, well, I'm just going to build, a couple barrels here and there to make ends meet, and not spend 5 hours behind a lathe doing one barrel. I'll try and find a little better way to do it. And then, gosh, man, I started doing more of it, and I started liking it, and I fell in love with the automation and the process and the CNC machinery and how that works. It just lined up with my mind. And then from that point on, I just want more and more. Now I want more machines, and I want, I don't ever want more people working for me, right? I'm a one man shop. My kids come out and eat breakfast in the shop when I'm working in the morning, and it's nice in the afternoon. I mean, I can get up early, spin up a couple barrels, 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. I can go practice for an hour or two, and then, or go to the range, or just do whatever the heck I want to do. Kids got a ball game. I go to the ball game, come back, turn the power switch on, make some money, work Saturday, Sunday, whatever day works. I want to go shoot a match. I don't have to ask permission, right? I just have to know I'm not going to make money while I'm at the match. Turn the light switch off and go make money, So it's.
So you do chamber jobs.
But primarily what I think I do pretty well is chamber jobs. I have a hybrid of how I do that. It takes me a little longer to cut a chamber, but they're pretty repeatable. Like I haven't changed my setup die for my reloading dies for any of 3 different rifles. I use the same die for the last 10 barrels across all of them, and the headspace stays the same. My brass, I don't have any issues with that. I mean, I have that stuff where a barrel now and a barrel 6 months from now and a barrel a year from now, for the most part, pretty much the chambers stay the same dimensions, and there's a lot of time and effort put into cutting them stress-free. So I do chamber work. I do bedding. I do true 700 actions. Realistically, I prefer to work with the custom stuff. I mean, when you factor in all the money you're going to put into one, if you have one, it's great. But realistically, by the time you bush firing pins and do all that stuff, you can go out and buy some pretty great actions for $1,000 or less, right? And they've got all that geometry trued and right, and they've just put a lot of time and effort into it. It's pretty reasonable. So I install barrel tuners if you're a fan of those. I thread the barrels for that. Pretty much anything a competition or hunting gun is pretty much going to see. That's what I'll do in the shop here. And I do almost everything. I send my firing pins out to Great Tan to have them bushed, and, outsource a very few things, but I try and do it all myself in-house. So
that's an incredible amount of repeatability, being able to go 10 barrels without changing the dies. Like, that's just straight up impressive.
I do it a lot different than any. I'm not saying it's better, right? There's 100 ways to do it, and not one shoot's just as good as the other or whatever. But I do it different. I found a way that basically I pre-cut the chambers with a boring bar, and then I go in and touch them off with a reamer, and it makes everything just bright. I actually cut my chambers before I thread them, so I can set my headspace down to generally 2/3 of a thousandth. I mean, it's pretty easy to hold that for the most part with the process I do. So at least it has been. I'm not going to say it always will be, but I haven't screwed up too many yet.
That's freaking awesome, man. So we're going to hit a couple lives right now. We got about 90 comments, so we're going to hit about 4 of them or so.
Because 86 of them are from Prentice.
87. So Derek Benner said, hold on, Prentice commented and it moved. He said, Keith builds hammers and Stiner is the best match director out there. There, I said it.
Thanks, Derek. We love
Matt's
you, brother.
pretty tough to beat as a match director. He puts a ton of effort in, more so than I'd say just about anybody else I've ever seen. The work he puts into his match directing is pretty on point. I mean, not saying he runs the best match. I'm just saying he puts a lot of work into it to try and run the best match he possibly can. And if it's not perfect, he tries to make it better next time.
Shout out to Ashley Wink. She said, Jennifer Seymour, Baby Wink says hi, but we're going to sleep. # youngest TSM fan.
Hey, Baby Wink.
Eric Austin said, for the record, Keith and Matt are just the nicest, most helpful guys around. Keith has offered me his backup rifle and ammo for a match when I was having problems. That was way above and beyond awesome. This crowd is the best there is in competitive sports.
And that goes right back to piggyback on what Keith was saying earlier. You know, you meet some of the best guys in the world, and you can't go to a 2-day match and have a rifle problem and not have 5 guys offer you their gear.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
It's, you know, that's the best part of this sport is, you know, guys, you can go any match in the country. If you need a bag, they hand you a bag. If they want to borrow a plate, you hand them a plate. Anything that's in my backpack, I tell anybody that's in my squad, if you need anything, just ask. It's there.
Yep.
So, and it's just awesome. And I can do that at any match I go to in the country.
And the caveat, what you said there, Matt, it's when you say 5 guys are going to help you out, it's the first 5 guys because you've already got it before you get to the next 20 that would still offer it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just pretty awesome. Right. Yeah.
This is by far the best community I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, I've never met nicer, more helpful people, you know, and it could literally be like, you know, I bet you at the AG Cup, if there was, you know, people in the top 3 fighting for that $35,000, if somebody's rifle went down, somebody else in the top 3 would have been like, I mean, I'm competing against you for $35,000 and I totally got it if I don't give it to you, but here's a $10,000 rifle. You want to shoot mine?
Well, it's because in this sport, everybody wants to beat somebody at their best.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to beat somebody because their rifle went down or anything like that. You know, if I was having the best match of my life and my rifle went down, Keith's going to hand me a gun that shoots just as good as my gun. You know, Dave Preston would do that. Ken Sanofsky would do that. You know, and I use those names because those are the guys I shoot with all the time. Those are the first 3 guys that hit me up. You know, when I was down in Alabama and I had some issues with my rifle, I had a lot of guys offer me some stuff, you know, scopes, guns, ammo, the whole 9 yards. And, you know, it's leaps and bounds ahead of anything else that we're a part of in life.
I've had some issues this year with gear, and this gun actually is an MDT. It is actually Sean Murphy's, so kudos to him for letting me shoot it in the finale this weekend coming up, I guess, because mine is needing some TLC right now. So I couldn't really shoot it, couldn't get it up and get it back running in time for the finale. So he was like, here, you can shoot mine. So like, no questions asked, just here's my gun, go shoot it. And it is hammering. So awesome people in this sport.
Mm-hmm.
I've always known it was awesome people, but this year I've had some issues of my own, and just tons of people have stepped up to help me. It's crazy.
Yep. Everybody wants everybody to be there competing at their best, having a good time. It's just an awesome group of people. Keith, Robbie Vaughn has a question for you. He wants to know if you started off on a manual lathe or if you started with the CNC when you were first making rifles.
Yeah, I started on a manual. And I'm a huge fan of the manual. I feel like some of the best rifles built can be built on a manual. You know, and when I looked at it, really the manual was tough to get away from. But there was a few things that I couldn't do on a manual that I felt I could do on a CNC, but you got to worry about a CNC heating up throughout the day and maybe changing the the servo's heating up and running out maybe a 1/10 of a thou or two and something along that line. So what I did is tried to find a way that could go across both. But yeah, I got a manual. I started with a manual, bought another manual, then bought another manual. I have 3 manuals in the shop right now.
So do you like manuals?
I do. I like the manual machine, right? I don't read manuals very well, though. No,
so you're not an instruction guy?
You're a man.
But I'm a hands-on guy, right? I have my wife read Jennifer's email, because I'm like, all right, I'm just going to skip like every third line when I read something and get to the important stuff with the pictures.
And you still logged in 20 minutes late, and she read it to you?
It said 20 minutes. I was supposed to be in 20 minutes early. Okay. All right. I got a text, right? I figured out how to open that. So, right? As Matt can attest, I'm really good with technology. You give me software.
Turkey's talking. Turkey's talking. Everybody have a beverage.
I am not tech software savvy. I don't answer texts for a day sometimes because I don't pick up my phone some days for a day. If I'm at the range, I'm focusing on training. That phone doesn't even get picked up. My wife knows not to even bother calling me. If she needs to get a hold of me and it's an emergency, she calls Matt, right? Or she calls wherever I'm at. Because if I'm training for myself or somebody else, it's their time or it's my time and I got to punch out, or else I'll spend all day not shooting, right? I'll spend all day not focusing on the shooting and it's not effective and I don't have the time to mess with, that. But yeah, I'm not a tech person. Emails.
Training this year too. If you guys notice, and we'll talk about this later, that pellet grill in the training pictures, he is streamlining his training process.
When you don't train well enough, and which means you sit on your ass the last day of the AG Cup, then it's a good idea to get the pellet grill out and sit in a chair and eat good food.
Agreed.
That's how it works.
Fact.
We're going to talk about that strategy in a little bit.
Excellent.
So we've had no less than like 10 different people share their experiences specifically with you two at matches and just how many different times you guys have helped people out, helped out new shooters, lent people gear, everything like that. And we just don't have time on the show to read all of them, but just know that the entire shooting community just appreciates, what you guys do to help out new shooters.
Well, and that happened, that's pretty amazing. And so that started happening just because of the kind of person Matt was and the people he trained. And so the facility he ran and now is running over in Pennsylvania, along with, Ken and a couple others, is basically structured around new shooters. It's very, very much so how to get new people into the sport and how to get them shooting and how to get them up to speed. And so it started, well, hey, in 2-day matches, my job's to focus on that. In the 1 days, in the weekly, and he would run 2 days a week club match, right? Evening matches, right? And people would walk in from nowhere. Well, those days were the days you get back, right? Those days are the days that you show the guy how to be safe on the range. And Matt would squad, a new shooter with himself and another new shooter with me and another new shooter with someone like Dave Ostrowski, which, the guy that got me into it. And he would just kind of, and numerous other people, but he'd find those experienced people and then they would kind of show them. And they, of course, they love it, right? Because it's the greatest sport in the world. And then they come back. And so that started where it became that's what we're going to do. We're going to help people. Well, then once we got in with MDT, gosh, I mean, the van, they put that van out there to support competitors. It's not to get mine and Matt's ass hauled around the country at all, right? So they don't care who goes, they don't care whether you're shooting a foundation, an MPA, MDT. They don't care about any of that. That van is to help keep people rolling, right? So they pay. There's a bunch of companies that put stuff on there. Vortex made a lot of donations, so we have optics on the truck. If somebody's optics go down, Trigger Tech hooked us up with some triggers, and we've pulled those things out more than their Match Saver triggers. We pull those out and put them in rifles all the time, both on
almost
practice days. Yeah, practice days, training days. Somebody will come to the range. never shot before or don't know what they're doing on even on a low club level day. And that's where the thing really shines, right? The guy shows up, he wants to shoot for the first time, and he has a 3-9 crosshair reticle that's, there's nothing to adjust. If you do adjust, it's not going to work. But he bought a new RPR, so he's got half the battle fixed, right? Matt will, hey, set him up, put a razor on there or a PST on there that, Nick from Vortex set us up with. He'll kind of get them started. I'll take them over, help them get zeroed. And then, Juan or us or somebody else will show them how to get dope and let them actually shoot a little bit of distance, see how to do this and get into it. And once they see that, they're hooked, right? And then MDT is just so great about supporting us to support shooters. I mean, if somebody needs something, like you want to try an MDT chassis, great. I got them on the truck. Let me know. Set up with me ahead of time. I'll put one on your rifle and shoot it for the match, right?
You walk up to one of us at a range and say, hey, man, I've been really looking at that, or I want to try this. We hand you our rifle, and we hand you a mag of ammo, and we give you the dope and tell you what targets, and we give you the wind call. That way you can experience the rifle, the chassis, the optic, any part of that gun that you were looking at and get those hits to distance, every time. It's, when I first got into this, I thought, hey, is that a turkey? There's a turkey. When I first got into this, I thought, hey, man, we got to keep our rifles looking nice. They're pretty, but, they're just a tool. Mm-hmm. And if you treat them like a tool, they're going to perform and they're going to get the job done for you all the time. And I love, when a guy walks up to me and, hey, man, that's a really cool rifle. First thing I do is I pull a mag out of my holster, hand him my rifle, and hand him the mag. I said, well, let's go shoot it. And they're like, they're overwhelmed because they're like, well, and they have nothing to say. And I said, well, let's go do it. You tell me what you want to shoot at, we'll get you dope. And it's just, we send rounds and they get excited about it and they come back. Another turkey.
You never offered to let me shoot it.
Do you need it? Sean already took care of you, but if you need hooked up, we have, right.
I wish I'd have known that at the Gap Grind, because that's a whole nother story, but yeah.
Which Gap Grind?
Well, because we weren't at the Gap Grind this year.
Right.
So my brother Chris just voted. He votes every TSM episode is now a drinking game.
Yes, love it.
Oh gosh, right. We're gonna go back to the heydays.
Probably recap that now. Yeah. Again, turkey goes off, you must drink. I'm drinking seltzer water, but hey.
So, Matt, Eric wants to know about some bear that you shot at and missed.
Oh God, I went on a bear hunting trip in Canada with some buddies, and it was a lot of sitting in the middle of the wilderness, and I took a 60-yard shot, and I swear to God I hit him, but I didn't. So yeah, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate you bringing up those good memories.
Bear is huge. How far away was it?
Yeah, they're like this big.
It was 60 yards away. It was open sights, and I'm not an open sight shooter. And this was like 6 years ago.
Like with a pistol, right?
And I'm just making excuses right now. So let's just move on.
I was about to say, I've hit things with a pistol at 60 yards before.
Oh, I can now too. I've really honed my pistol game over in the last 3 years. But thanks, Eric. I appreciate that. And even better, Greg, thanks for finding that in that mess of messages.
You're welcome. Glad I could help. Also,
okay. All those turkeys going off is Ken Sinoski trying to get Matt Stiner shit-faced. I just got the message.
Oh, suck pump. Why you gotta be a suck pump, Sinoski? Oh, that's what happens when your business partner watches you on live Facebook Live here.
Telling you. Speaking of your business partner, so Matt, tell us a little bit about MKM and your matches, and give us all the information.
All right. So
how did it get started?
So about
You're the one that wanted a drinking game. I mean, you're the one that wanted it.
Hey,
you can't even say anything now. You know who your friends are. Why would you even set this up?
You're right. You're absolutely right. All right. So it keeps going. All right. So about, it had to have been September-ish. In Ohio and Western Pennsylvania, we had two really, really awesome ranges, and they bounced off each other and they fed each other really, really well. I ran a series of Thursday night intro matches. It was 6 stages, 60 rounds. It was coaching on the clock, 2-minute par times, heavy positional, but big targets. The aim, just like Keith talked about earlier, was to get shooters involved. My counterpart, Ken, he was running Thursday night KYL style matches to get the other half of the shooting world involved, the guys that don't like to move a lot, and providing that avenue of shooting for people as well. And then he and I got together and we decided to run the Penn Ohio series. And I think that was probably one of the coolest things I've done as a match director, because we were able to collect, manage, pull together through match fees, membership fees, about $10,000. And we paid that out. And more importantly, we paid it out to non-pro shooters. So when shooters signed up to be a part of the Penn Ohio series with us, they had to denote whether they were a pro shooter, meaning they received sponsorship items from a sponsor, or if they were just paying for everything out of pocket and, in essence, being an amateur. And so we paid out the top 5 non-pro spots, and our non-pro winner walked away with, what was it, $2,500? Second place was $2,000. Third place was $1,500, $1,000, and then $750. Then we paid out our middle Leos, our tax, our productions. We had enough pro participation that we paid out 2 pro spots, and we got the big, awesome checks, and we made a lot of guys really happy. And we were really fortunate enough to have a really awesome prize table for that finale. And we doubled it along with the PRS regional series finale when we ran it over at Rockland. So, Ken and I have done a lot of really, really cool stuff over the last year. But unfortunately, early September, he and I both fell to some landowner issues. And I had lost my range, and he had lost his first, and I had lost mine. And we got together one night and we started talking, and we, lots of phone calls, conversations between he and I. And he brought in one of the guys that he has become really close with, and I'm becoming very close with as well. His name's Mark, and Mark's a really business savvy individual. He owns a construction company. He's super good with the business side of stuff. And we put together some proposals, and we got the things ironed out at Rockland. And, we've signed into, a lease for the next year. And we're going to maintain all of our matches, because I knew there were some headaches. And, at Rockland, and with them canceling that match, a lot of shooters were upset because it took some time to get their money paid back. And realistically, I think, this week is when we're processing the rest of our refunds. And so all of our shooters are going to be compensated for everything, for that match, 100%. But we came together, we formed this idea of MKM, because it's Mark, Ken, and Matt. And the idea is just to put together a really awesome, group of people, have, private range. We're going to do memberships, the whole 9 yards. But more importantly, we're going to shoot a ton of matches. I've got, since the regional finales ended, I've already run 2-3 matches, and we've got 2 more coming up at Christmas. We don't stop. It's for the 2021 season. I have 6 one-day regionals planned just at Rockland, which we're calling, which is now going to be MKM. I'm running 3 one-days at another range in Ohio so that we can keep our integrity as the Penn Ohio series. We also are going to have on every Saturday or Sunday, backed up to our one-day PRS regional matches, one of our PRS 22 matches. And we've got a really great guy, Greg Stewart. Greg's been running our rimfire matches. He puts a lot of thought and effort into them, and they've been pretty solid. When we started this last year, it was just kind of like a nomad kind of series that we started, and we had 15, 16 guys showing up. Our last match with really, really bad weather, and I'm talking bad as in 40-mile-an-hour winds came in at the end of the match. We still had 35 shooters show up.
It rained at the beginning of the match too. It was 40 degrees and rain to start.
Yeah. And
that
then,
sounds miserable.
It was bad. It was terrible.
I didn't shoot it. I left.
But, so we'll be running those matches. So we're going to be at least 7 or 8 one-day, PRS 22 rimfire matches where we can stretch out to 400 or 500 yards if we really wanted to. And the cool part about the regional stuff and the rimfire stuff is we will be hosting again next year the regional series finale at MKM. And then we're going to hold the the PRS 22 rimfire regional finale at Rockland the day after. So we got lots of matches coming up. And more importantly, we've got 2 Pro Series matches. We lost 2 ranges in Ohio last year. Myself and Big Dog Steel. He won't be running stuff out of Thunder Valley next year. So Shannon, I was blessed enough for Shannon to give us 2 matches. So we're going to run in April, the weekend of April 17th. We'll have the Peterson Precision Rifle Challenge. We have Peterson Cartridge out of Pittsburgh. That's going to be our title sponsor there. And then in April, Father's Day weekend, April 19th and 20th, Nick Laufenberg, he's been great. This will be his 3rd year as the title sponsor, and it's a qualifier match again. I'm so happy about that. We're going to run the Vortex Vengeance. And it's going to be
drink.
Who is?
Bricks.
Dang you, Bricks. Go eat a steak. Eat all the meat sweats. So, I couldn't be more excited to run this. Like, now I can't shoot those finales or those 2-day matches, which sucks for me because I love to shoot. But having we had 127 people sign up for our regional finale. I just love having everybody come in, the camaraderie that you have, you get a B&B with a group of people and everybody has a blast and it's great. So I look forward to that 12 times a year, plus all the road trips will go on. I think Keith and I, last year, Keith, we did an 18-week straight, where we were gone every weekend for like 18 straight weeks. I
won't say it was great. It was fun, but COVID, I could have used all that spread out a few months before. Instead of stacked up at the end.
That's a lot.
It was a good time.
That's a lot of togetherness.
And Keith, that's a lot of driving for you, isn't it?
That is a lot of driving for him, Greg.
It is. It's more driving for me than you could imagine.
Wait, did he or did he not let you drive the van by yourself to the AG Cup and he flew?
So he not only did that.
Oh God!
Wait! This is a finale too. He loaded all his shit in the truck, took my stuff out of the drawer, and said, "This is my drawer. Take it down there." He flew in carrying nothing but a little bag. Right? Went to the AG Cup. Now for the finale, not only is he going to fly in, he wants me and Justin Miller to zero his rifle for him because he hasn't zeroed it since the AG Cup, and make sure it's all good to go for him the day of the match. So we're hauling his gear, we're shooting his ammo, and yeah. So
you trust them to zero your
Keith,
gun?
I wish you lived closer to me.
I absolutely
Right?
trust those guys to do that because, like I said before, they'd rather beat me at my best than to beat me because some kind of weird thing happened.
So
you know what I mean?
That still doesn't mean your first shot, you might hear the RO yell, "Wrong target."
Well, that's a mental piece. That has nothing to do. That's jet lag.
Dial in 10 mils of wind.
I've done that more often than not. So
more power to you. That would give me anxiety to not go and zero it myself.
Well, the problem that I have is based on my my 9 to 5. I don't have the leeway to always leave and travel on the road. Trust me, if I could, I would have driven the AG Cup with Keith in the van 100%. I would love to be driving down.
He
with
would
him
have rode to the AG Cup. He would not have driven shit.
Oh God, he's got all the jokes tonight. Regular comedian. But it's, just the fun in the van. It's, I hate driving. I don't do it, obviously. But I've never liked car rides, but it's always good with Keith. We always have something to talk about, or we listen to podcasts, or, it's never truly a dull moment. He's, probably the best travel buddy I've had. And, like I said, it's good. We understand each other, and, it's just, everything works. He just gives me a look if he's having a rough day, and I walk away. Same thing. If I need something, he's there for me. I can call him right now, hear that turkey, have a drink, and he, handle whatever I needed him to do for me. He's just awesome of a fella. So
awesome. Special.
That's awesome. Y'all are always fun. I always have a good time. I had the best time in Wyoming traipsing through in the rental car. Keith is like, "Are you okay keeping going?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's a rental."
Out in that land management area.
Going down the BLM land and trying to find somewhere to shoot out at 1,500 yards. And we're I'm just following Keith in his rental, and I'm in my rental, and I don't know where we're going. And yeah, it was hilarious.
Well, we're going to do that with the MDT van in Oklahoma. I hope that's not a rental.
You better come find me. Although I'm hitching rides this entire weekend because I'm not renting a car because I'm broke. But if y'all are going off to adventure, y'all need to find me because that was fun.
Well, Justin Miller and I are leaving in the morning with Matt's gear.
In my drawer. I get a drawer in
his drawer. Yeah. And
I'm going to put a name
plate on your door.
Yeah. We need that for 2021.
Right. Okay. We'll work on that. And then we're going to basically look for a place to shoot somewhere between Ohio and Oklahoma, preferably in Oklahoma, within an hour or so of the range. That's our goal. So drive as far as we can, find a place to not zero Matt's gun, and, get down there and shoot some distance. I'll bring my E-target along. So maybe if we're not shooting rock faces at 1,500 yards, maybe we'll shoot, the E-target.
How many drawers do you have in the van?
There's 2.
Okay.
2 giant drawers and a whole toolbox.
If you run soft cases, you could probably fit 3 or 4 or 5 rifles in each drawer.
Yeah. I've got 4 rifles in my drawer.
If I have time tomorrow, I'll make you guys some nameplates and send them the finale for y'all.
Yes.
That could be interesting, right?
Left side drawer says Matt. The right side says suck pump.
Right.
Oh my God. Okay, so back to MDT. So what all does MDT? I know I see this chassis right here. Matt has one behind him. So what all does MDT offer? Chassis? Are there other parts, other items that people need to know about?
Oh, they make a pile of different shooting accessories for bolt action rifles primarily. That's their focus. They make stuff for ARs and so forth, but really their primary focus is chassis systems and accessories for bolt action rifles. So I would love to know the actual number. I should know the actual number of different chassis that they do make, but it's significant of different ones. The ones we use in our competition is primarily the ACC chassis. Love that chassis. They make the SkyPod, which is really an awesome bipod. I mean, it's completely versatile. I've got one that's over 3 feet tall that collapses down to yay high, 12 inches or so. And then the standard, like the PRS one, that thing can get down just 2-3 inches off the ground when you spread it out, or even less if you kick the legs forward or backwards. And then you can pull that same bipod up to 20 some inches, 18, 20 inches, right? You can just do a lot with it by bringing it in and dropping it down. I would say its versatility is amazing. There's nothing really out there quite like it. And it was a bipod designed primarily around this precision rifle series game. I mean, the guys out west, they had a little more time to build positions in the beginning, and they would shoot across a rock over here and a rock back here in a big open space, and Sky come up with this great idea to build this bipod that you could kick the legs out and then extend them out, and you could span a 5-foot gap and still have front and rear support. Or you can, it'll cant all the way over almost on its side. So you can put it on a rooftop and just roll the rifle over and be able to go, I forget what the number is, almost, I think it'll cant 120 either way, but it cants all the way around. So the SkyPod's pretty amazing. We've got their vertical grip, which is part of their chassis system. It's incredibly adjustable. It's not just a piece of plastic that's bolted on the rifle.
I will say, I really like that grip.
So I think you have
the OBI. It looks like.
I don't know, but I really like it.
It's big and thick, isn't it?
Is it big and fat like this? Yeah. So I think that's the vertical elite grip, which is supposed to be released in the next couple weeks. That's not, that is soon to be coming out. And really, it's a pretty cool grip. The vertical elite grip is a fat grip, right? Bigger in diameter than the standard grip. And it'll cant like 10 degrees backwards and a 10-degree angle, and then fore and aft like the other. So you can get your length of pull right? And you get that good 90-degree trigger pull.
I have the OBI.
OBI. Okay.
It's the same thing. I just think it's one of the prototypes is what it just marked.
Okay.
I have no idea.
You have a really cool grip that's made by a great gun.
It is very cool. I really like I got behind the gun. I was like, oh, I like this. And it has a little thumb shelf.
The thumb shelf is pretty awesome.
I'm not going to talk anymore about it because I'll probably put my foot in my mouth.
Well, I'll tell you, the first time I seen the ACC chassis, I was at the NRL finale, and I think there was only 2 of them out there in the wild. And I was staying at Scott Satterley's house, and one of the guys out there had one, and he was getting ready for the finale. And I picked it up, and he's like, wow, what's this? He's check this out. And I grabbed a hold of it, and that grip just lined up with me. I'm like, that's like the best feeling grip and rifle I ever shot. And I'd never heard of MDT at that point. Right. And then gosh, now, we got scope rings. They've got one-piece mounts, and their one-piece mount, I mean, you can hit the thing with a mallet and the daggone thing just doesn't move. It's pretty awesome. And I can take it off. Like if I'm flying someplace, I can actually take my scope off, throw it in my backpack, carry it on the plane, put it back on, and I almost never even need to really zero my rifle again when I put it back on. It's that repeatable. Magazines, they got mags from 223, BR mags, 308s. They got 12-round mags that are very compact, and XM mags. They've got quite a few different magazines available, and they pretty much make a magazine for just about everything out there right now, and considerable of adjustable weight systems. So the ACC chassis has got internal weights, external weights you can bolt on multiple different rifles. You can bolt it on your AR. I can't tell you how many guys have the ARs or the Tikas out there, and they've bought the MDTs and popped them on the side. Great swag. What else am I missing, Matt?
Some of the other cool chassis that they've got out, like right now, like I've got behind me here on the ground up against the wall, one of the XRSs. It's a really cool, if you're into an actual stock versus a chassis, it's got like a mini chassis system in it. It's a polymer frame. You got one nearby, Bake? I got one right here. So here's one that I've got right here, guys. And I put it together. I won one of those Bagara B14s at a NRL 22X match. And I called Bagara up, and they sent me a barreled action, and I called Vortex, Trigger Tech, and MDT, and they sent me all the parts to put it together. And this is a loaner rifle that I'm going to use at any of the 22 PRS 22 matches we have. And I got a hold of Lapua Service Center. We're lucky enough in Ohio to have one of the Lapua Service Centers here with us. So I called Luke Johnson up and I said, hey man, here's what I want to do. Here's the companies that are in. Here's what they're doing for me. I want to have something that they can shoot at a match and, you know, be successful with it. You know, I have a Kestrel that I wanted a match, a spare one, that I put the dope for that into, and I hand the Kestrel, ammo, the gun, and mags to a shooter, and I say, hey, now you're in my squad, let's go shoot and, you know, be successful. So anybody that wants to come try the NR or the PRS 22 stuff, you know, you got a turnkey rifle here ready to roll that's accurate and get you out the distance, you know, just because we want to keep giving back to the community. So, but it's a really cool, it's easy to balance. I added an Arca rail from, you know, we got an Arca rail on it as well. It's just a great shooting little gun, and it's accurate. And I lent it to a buddy at the first 22 match that we ran with it, and finished in the top 30%. First time he'd ever done that in a match. So he was super excited.
Yeah, so, cool thing about that chassis is it's an aluminum chassis, but it's wrapped in plastic. It has an adjustable cheek piece, adjustable rear, and it doesn't, and they make a full length Arca rail that bolts on the bottom, but it feels good to your hands, but it also comes with two different grips. So it's got a swept grip and a regular grip that bolts on. And a new thing that's going to be coming out here in the next couple of weeks is, you've seen Matt had external weights on his because there's M-locks on the side, but in the next few weeks, and I think it's a sneak, I don't know if I should say it or not, but there's internal weight system that's coming for this now, right? That is a big bar that slides inside that adds a pound of weight to that. So this thing's like $499, right? And you can buy it for Savage, you can buy it for Remington, you can buy it for, you'll be able to buy it for darn near everything here in the short term. It feels very similar to your competition rifle. You know, I mean, it's got the 90-degree grip and everything. It just feels like the ACC. And for someone wanting to get into the sport who has that, you know, Savage or that Remington 700 with a little plastic, you know, stock, they can go buy this thing for $499. Now they have, you know, a lot of the features that we have on our match guns, and then be able to now add weight to see how serious they want to get into the sport, right? And when they decide they want to go further than that, you know, they can add a couple pounds to this with the external weights and still having all the M-locks and the internal. Then they can go to the next step, and if they want to, and go to the ACC. I use it as a varmint rifle all the time. I bolt my varmint rigs in there. It's not cold to the touch in the 0-degree weather because that plastic isn't like grabbing hold of the aluminum. It's pretty nice.
So most all of their stuff is very, very modular and adjustable. I mean, like when I got Sean's rifle, he's like, move whatever you need to move. It's cool, you know, adjust whatever. The cheek piece, all of it. Like when I sat down and looked at it, I was impressed at how much you can move it. I mean, you could do anything you want basically with it, it seems like.
So I would say that is what it is, the true competition chassis, if you ask me. We make there's a lot of great chassis companies out there, and it take nothing from any one of them. But when I look at these things and I try and find out how to make it better, right? And we have a monthly meeting. Hey, you know, what can we do to make it better? What can we do to change? And the cool thing about MDT is if there's something that should be better, and it should be better right now, we're not going to wait for the next generation. We're just going to do it right now. Let's incorporate this now. If this is something we can make better, let's do it. It's the adding of weights and the modularity of that is kind of one of the, I'd say that's its biggest plus and its biggest downside to get started with is it's so adjustable, right? You know, having all that adjustability and you just don't know where to start. That's, you know, do I just add more weight? Well, then it's nose heavy and it falls down, or you get too much rear weight and it falls away from you when you pull the trigger. Well, all the internal weights, you can run 1, 2, 5. And the cool thing about it is you can do it without taking the gun out, the rifle out of the, dismounting it from the chassis. you take a little, the front cap off, and you can just take a pencil and slide these little weights back and forth till you get it balanced exactly where you want it, and then screw it in place. And you can screw those in not only in the 5 positions, you can screw them halfway in between. So it's in the buttstock. I know we have 2 different buttstocks for this, and I don't know that I've actually just did a video on that. But their standard length of pull is like 13.25 inches, right? They also make one that I believe is 12.5. Yeah, 12.5. I mean, it is a full inch shorter. And for the way we shot F class and everything else was different. But now in the competition we're doing, we're running this rifle in up here on your neck. We're running it real medially to mitigate recoil. And to be able to, I'm 6'2", and I run the short length of pull because I bring it all the way in here, because it's easy to push my shoulder back, but it's hard to push 300 pounds of ass back when you go right down the middle, so I can go like that, and I bring that sucker right in there.
That's good fundamentals right there.
That's exactly it, man. That extra cheeseburger adds to my fundamental base, maybe not basics, just the base. But
if you got a cheeseburger, all I got is a little chicken mini.
But they make you can buy, if you get it and you want the shorter buttstock, you can. And I mean, gosh, I would say the majority of large people that shoot this game should still be shooting that 12.5 inch buttstock, right? Where you can really get in and build better fundamentals, right? And I think as the sport evolves, you'll see more of that. You'll see these buttstocks get shorter, and anyway.
Bricks, you're 100% right. There's nothing there. Nothing.
Right. I have to wear suspenders just so I don't smile at everybody. Right. Oh, I love you, Bricks.
I feel like Matt should share.
What's that?
Oh, I used to share all the time before the suspenders. Right.
Yes. So Bricks made a comment that, Keith doesn't have a butt. And it's, if you shot with Keith or you've known Keith, circa 2019, he never wore suspenders. So Keith
the AG Cup.
So Keith was smiling from 2 ends all the time.
Right.
And, we had to have a friendly little conversation prior to the AG Cup in 2019. And I said, hey, buddy, you got to fix that. You might be on TV. So that's where the suspenders. So, if you guys ever see Keith normally has suspenders on, or he wears them under his jersey. And it helps keep those pants up.
Hey.
Yeah. So wait, you had a friendly conversation with your shooting buddy about that. My shooting buddy is just like, hey, I see your ass. Pull your pants up.
Well, see, the difference is when you and your shooting buddy are at the range and there's probably people around, it's all for show. Keith and I spent so many hours training together. It's like, dude, you might want to fix that. There's nobody to perform for at that point. So it's just kind of like, all right, dude, hey, here's the facts of life. I love you. You're like my brother. Pull your pants up.
It's a problem, Keith. The women's group, we have discussions about
Keith's pants?
To wear so that you don't show things.
Well, I've got it figured out. I got the right. It took me 27 different pair of bungee cords, but I found the right one.
I thought you were going to say 27 pair of pants, 27 bungee cords.
Are all 27 still on?
Right?
Oh my God. Okay. At the finale, if I come over and pull your shirt up, I'm not being a perv. I just really want to see what is holding your pants up.
It's highly technical. Well, it's not the front that's a problem. It's the back.
Oh.
Oh my God. This is
Next stop.
So anyway, we were talking about cheeseburgers earlier.
Why don't you hit 6, Greg?
Yeah. We're talking about cheeseburgers, but I really like chicken. So let's say that I go to the store and I buy myself a smoker and I want to make the best chicken thighs I've ever freaking ate. How do I do it? And I got my pins already.
Well, you can't do that. You have to come see us at the MDT van.
Right. You have to come to the MTT van, and we've got the pellet grill in the back, man. That thing smells like a smoke shack rolling down the road
And
after
it's
a match.
12. I didn't even know it was a thing. Like all of a sudden they're pulling out this box. He's walking into the van with a 12-volt plug to plug the smoker into the van.
Well, so I spend a lot of time now I spend a lot of time at the range. So one of the things we do is range ribs, right? So we go to the range in the morning, we start the ribs, and then we shoot. And then halfway through the day, we cut the ribs up, we eat the ribs, and then we finish the day, and then we have some more ribs, and then we drive home at night. So it started with the range ribs, and then it's gone to chicken. But we got the portable pellet grill that rides in the back of the MDT van most of the time. It's great for hotel parking lots. I mean, gosh, with COVID, you can't find places to eat half the time, or the wait is horrible. And so now, man, we can start that stuff where we go get our shower, and it's done when we come back out after a nice hot match and we're cooling off in the air conditioning. But so AG Cup, Matt and I both sucked a little more than we wanted to on day 2, didn't quite make it to day 3. So we went out and bought, I don't know how many dozens.
All of the chicken and
we went to Blakely, and we went into this grocery store, and I mean, we bought all the chicken
and cookies
and cookies.
The cookies
and all
were
that
good
stuff.
too.
We're like, you know what? If we can't shoot, we might as well sit here and have a good time and make everybody else, something to eat.
Man, y'all were like the fun place to sit too.
dude, the foundation and the Impact babies were all over those cookies and chicken. They loved them.
Oh yeah.
Chicken.
And they were, one of them was passed out.
Yes.
I came back, so I'd go and do some videos, and I'd come back and try and eat something. I'd go do videos, and I'd come back, and he's like passed out face down on a towel, like between 2 chairs.
That baby didn't move for like 5 hours.
Yeah, he was gone.
Right. Now, Tate's
great.
kids always moved, right? Them boys are ornery.
And may or may not have had clothes on.
Right. May or may not. Oh my gosh.
So I'm about to say, we got real technical with some camera angles there. It's like, oh, nope. Point that up.
Yeah. It's like, oh, there's a naked baby.
There's a naked baby running through the stage.
Let's move.
And it's not Keith without the suspenders, right? Anyway, so we started cooking chicken. Well, my chicken recipe is, I got the boxes here. So we take chicken thighs, put them on there for about 25 minutes at 280 to 300 degrees on the pellet grill. Got to have a pellet grill. If you don't have a pellet grill, are in the wrong place in life. And then I cover it with McCormick's brown sugar bourbon, right? I put about half that. And the magic ingredient is Chef Gio's barbecue. That's Geno, Gino, and that's from Alden Mill House in Torch Lake, Michigan, Alden, Michigan. So we do about sprinkle half and half on that, both sides. Put it on for 25 minutes, just to get a good smoke on it at 250, 300 degrees, and bump it up to 4 and a quarter, depending on your grill, for another half hour, and you're good to go. Man, you take $1 a pound chicken thighs, and you make the best barbecue you ever had. And we pretty much we do the same thing with ribs. I mean, we can do the long rib, which, we'll do 4 or 5 hours, do 2-3 hours at a low temperature, and then bump it up, or really the range ribs. We got those from Drew Walters. We started with our seasonings, but put those things on there for about 400 degrees for about an hour and a half. And you can cut them up, and they're pretty daggone good for being on the range, right? They're not fall off the bone. They're just good to eat right now, and they're doggone good ribs, and you can eat it with fingers and paper towels. So that's the recipe for the...
That was delicious. However, y'all's time estimates were a little bit off. I'd come back, and I'm trying to work here. So I run down. I'm like, when's the chicken gonna be ready? And y'all be like, 5 minutes.
Well, what you completely missed was
pulled a dozen off every 45 minutes for 8 hours.
I'm saying,
I'd go back in 5 minutes and I'd be standing there. I'm like, when's chicken off?
So the problem was the
Pruitt and
foundation.
Streeter kids went through that stuff so fast. They were two-fisted running around.
Let's say there was one
I'm
point
like, dude, I haven't eaten yet.
I like walk by and one of y'all was like, yeah, about 25 minutes we'll pull it off. I'm walking by, I'm like, timer 25 minutes. All of a sudden my phone starts beeping. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, the chicken's ready. We gotta go get chicken.
Awesome.
Sweet potatoes were good too if you got those.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, it was awesome
Yeah.
though. That was really cool of y'all to do. And a lot of people, like a couple of people have commented, thanks for lunch on day 3. That was everybody really enjoyed it.
So much.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome. I'd rather been shooting, but it was a lot of fun cooking.
See, that's the cool thing.
I don't know if you wanted to be
attitude.
shooting that day.
You guys were like,
right?
It was dinner Saturday night. You guys were like, well, we're not shooting tomorrow. You know what we should do? Let's go buy all the food in Blakely and like cook it and give it to people. And I'm like, I'm gonna park next to you guys tomorrow.
And then that day went long, which was great because everybody was out there and they were, stressed, and there was a lot of people that weren't able to shoot, and then families that were there, and it was just
it was good. The ROs got to eat as well. And that was the nice part. The ROs that couldn't walk away from a stage were able to come down, and we were able to take a piece of chicken up to them. And, fortunately, we couldn't take them a cold beer or Olive Aaron Hips bourbon. But
I was going to say, Aaron lost a bottle of bourbon there somewhere to half the people sitting around the MDT van.
Oops. Well, so speaking of the AG Cup, so y'all both got to shoot it. What did y'all think of the format this year? It was a different format from last year. It was very different the way you did it with having the cut and kind of a fresh start each day. So what were your opinion, both of you, on the format?
So I didn't get to shoot the AG Cup last year. I didn't qualify. But this year I did. And I went in there with one goal this year, and that was to make day 2. I knew that I looked at the competition. I saw the guys that were there, and I'm like, you know what? If I can just make it day 2, I'll be pretty happy. And, end of day 2, I found myself vying for a day 3 spot. And I was really excited about that. And I was really happy with the format. I made the cut day 1 at number 20. So I was good with how it worked out. I know some people were a little upset with it. I heard some voices and some grumblings in the background, but Tom made a call, and as a match director, I totally respect that. He made that call at the beginning of the day, and you got to stick with it. And sometimes shooters don't like it, and sometimes it causes a problem. But sometimes you just got, you got to make that decision. I totally get it, and I thought the match was fun. I enjoyed the format. I wish I would have shot day 3. That's for sure.
I think it's it's such a different match than any of the other matches out there. And that's like, I'm going to RO Mammoth in January because it's here where I live. And I just got an email, and it had like frequently asked questions. And apparently somewhere along the line, someone asked like, hey, I don't think it's fair that if we miss a ruck that we can't camp out anymore. Like, I want to be able to camp. That's part of the thing. And I don't think I should be penalized if I just don't make the ruck. And they were like, well, it's not a punishment. It's part of the match. That is part of it. You have to make the ruck to be able to then
and
it's the nature of the match. It's just a different match. And I think AG Cup is the same thing. It's just a very different match.
Yeah. And as long as everything's defined and everybody knows ahead of time, it shouldn't be an issue.
Right.
I totally get that. So,
Keith, what about you? What was your thoughts?
Dude, I'll tell you, my hat's off to Tom Fuller. I mean, what he's doing to legitimize this sport is amazing, to take it to the next level. I mean, we're in a place where it's just growing and it is what it is, but to take it to where we can get other companies involved and make it where it can grow to like what bass fishing has done, right? Or what golf has done, where there's, boot sponsors that are interested and being a part of Precision Rifle Series and making it possible for television and advertisers to have and sponsors to be able to put more money into it, to have a bigger reach. And Tom is working his butt off to do that. And last year, I know it was a total experiment last year, and just like it is this year, and it's an evolving movement. I was fortunate enough to shoot it last year. I think last year there was 20 or 21 shooters that shot it. And then this year it's growing and it's an evolving thing. And I just love what he's trying to do. Personally, I think what he's doing with that cut line is a really cool thing. Makes it cool for TV at the end of the match. It was so cool to see everybody kind of hang around and see who's going to happen, who's going to make the cut, where's the cut going to be, how's it going to work? Oh my gosh, if so-and-so scores an 8, then 5 guys go. And if so-and-so scores a 4, then only 1, right? Or a 10, then only 1, right? It was just kind of it was really cool to see the dynamics, and it added to it. And added a lot of fun. As a competitor, I think it's awesome the way it's moved to the sport, or moving the sport and what he's doing. And I think next year he'll take what he learned from the last 2 years and tweak it just a little more and see how it works. And that's how you have to do it. And fortunately, he's the right guy for that job, right? He's got nothing to gain other than he cares about the sport, right? His business is based on this sport, but he doesn't care who wins. He wants to see the sport grow. That grows.
He just loves it.
But everybody in it and the people, he just loves the people. He loves that whole, just everything about it, right? He's a generous person. Like anybody who ever needs anything. Like I don't know of a shooter out there that's ever really needed something that couldn't afford it, and he didn't just take care of it for him or find a way to help him out or find someone to help them out. I mean, he's just that guy. So he's the right guy for it. He's moving the game ahead. It was totally different last year than it was this year. And it was different. I'm not going to say either was better, right? It was just, it's a moving target. It's moving it to where it's making it more marketable. And I think next year he'll tweak it just a little more and it'll be even more. I love the cut line. I love seeing everybody around. I did not like not shooting on day 3, but that was a me problem, right? That had nothing to do with the format. But I sure would have liked to hit one more target.
Oh Lord.
But oh yeah.
Well, the coolest part about that match, Keith, you had the experience of doing it in 2019 and 2020, but for me going in there, I've always worked in every 2-day match I've shot with. I've worked with a team of guys in our squads, and that's kind of how our sport works. As we go in, we problem solve a stage together. We share our win calls coming off the line. AG Cup, you can't do that. So I found myself a lot of time, we got 30 seconds before each stage, and I used most of my 30 seconds reading wind to get my final wind call, because on my data chart, I had 4 or 5 different wind values to figure out where I was, because that hurricane just came through, and that wind was switchy as heck on Friday and Sunday. I didn't shoot Sunday, but so I'm trying to get my best first initial wind call. So I spent my whole time with my Kestrel up in the air, with my eyes through the binoculars, trying to find some targets and go from there. But it was a really cool experience to be able to do that and succeed and hit targets and have a good run of it after being used to just shooting.
I think the most intense thing with y'all was y'all got 30 seconds on glass before you shot. And I don't think I've ever seen all of y'all taking all 30 seconds, just watching, concentrating through that glass, trying to figure out that wind before you shot, because there was no, like you said, there was no discussing it.
Yeah, no discussion at all. It wasn't part of the match format. It was frowned upon, and competitors would look at you like you come off and you see the eyes of a competitor as you walk off the stage, and whether you cleaned it or you got a 3 on it, and they're like, well, what did you hold for wind? You knew that's what they wanted to ask you, but they just couldn't. They were like, you saw it at the tip of their tongue and they just wouldn't say a word. And you saw these puppy dog eyes, and it's like, sorry, brother. And you just walk away. So I don't know.
Without a lot of berms, it was, with those switchy winds, you had a plan. You went up and you looked, you're like, okay, this is a 10-mile-an-hour wind out of 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. We're good. We'll do a 10 at 7 and a 10 at 8, and we'll write down a 10 at 8:30, and we've got our game card, and we're good to go. And you go up there and you look, and there's not really any good indicators, and you shoot the first round, and the weather wasn't right for trace, and it just, you may hit it dead center. You shoot the next one, and you got no idea where it went. And no berm, the light wasn't right for seeing trace, and it's like, okay, what do we do? Well, we'll start left. Nope. Right. Nope. High. Nope. Low. Yep. There it was. Mirage. But I mean, it just, the sun would pop, and then mirage would change elevations. It had rained a couple days before, and you would see a 10th or 2 elevation change, and you would just center, and all of a sudden you couldn't see where or what was happening. And you were just shooting high or low on those reduced size targets, which, when you're shooting diamonds and, you're a 10th or 2 high and it's a 10-inch diamond, it's more like 2 inches to hit it. Right. So it was kind of cool. I mean, if you got a first couple hits and the weather was good, it was a whole lot nicer for you than if it was a little changey while you were shooting through your stage, because there was a lot of guessing and you were just hoping you made the right guess. And maybe there's a few guys that seen a little more than everybody else, or were, but it was a pretty tough, conditions for elevated targets.
Because it's a lot of, I mean, all the shooters that were there are just phenomenal shooters. Just to qualify there was an honor. I think it was like 42 people total. Correct. That were there, and like it's 42 of some of the best shooters in the country. So just to have them there, but then to watch them, those, all of y'all, I say those guys, y'all too, are used to going up and 8 stages in, I'll be like, how are you doing? I've dropped 6. I'm like, I hit 6, it's just very funny because y'all are used to going out there and like cleaning stages, dropping 1, maybe 2 on a bad stage, but that's kind of the way it goes usually. And so to see not getting, there were people that were getting 2s and 0s and 3s, and it was like, wow, this is a really hard match. But those targets were so much smaller. I think it really created a challenge, both physically actually impacting and mentally, because I think that a lot of you guys are not used to missing. And so it was kind of interesting to see what that did to everybody's psyche as they were trying to shoot and then forget about it and move to the next stage and move on.
It was definitely tough, but I think going into it, you just had to kind of, you looked at it like, okay, I just got a 3 on this stage, and I walked over and I had Clay was in my squad, and I go, hey, how you doing? He goes, dude, I just got a 2 on this stage. And it was like, okay, so Clay's like what, 1-2 in the series right now. And he was leading the AG stuff, and I'm like, okay, so if he just did as bad as I did, and I'm like, holy shit, this must be just that tough. And
it definitely was not that y'all don't have skill. It was the difficulty of the targets. I mean, it was just interesting. Keith, the turkey went off.
I'm going to, but
sorry about that.
Hold on.
Let's see who that was.
Okay. Greg, you got to read Nick Laufenberg's comment. I just looked at it and I started cracking up.
When Keith Baker reads questions on his computer, he looks so murdery. So also a previous one from Nick, who was RO and at AG Cup. I don't remember what it was, but he basically said, thank you guys so much for feeding him. The timer was getting really heavy. He wasn't able to hold it anymore until you guys bought him food.
Man, poor Nick stood in front of that bus all day holding that stick
up over his head. People
up over his head. I mean, he was safe because, he was up underneath, but holding that stick up all the way up, I was like, dude, my arms would hurt. So more power to you, Nick.
Yeah. So also, while we're on lives, Ken Wheeler asked a tough question. He said, Tom Fuller's doing big things as an industry supporter and match director to legitimize and professionalize the sport. what do we shooters do to legitimize and professionalize the sport?
I think as shooters, we need to make sure that we are supporting our match directors. We're having open dialogue and not back channel conversations. We can't attack each other or do anything like that. But more importantly, we got to unify together. Like I explained earlier, like the situation with Ken Sanofsky and I, we came together as match directors to support our shooters, and we found ways to make them shoot and get them to shoot. And I think we got to keep doing that same thing as shooters. We have to support those that are providing us with the sport that we're going to do. You know what I mean? I know there's drama in every aspect of the world that we live in, but the more unified I think we can be, the more open conversations we have. I'm a big boy. Keith's a big boy. If there's an issue with something I'm doing as a match director, I'm 100% open to guys come up and talking to me and say, hey man, I didn't like this. Here's what we could probably change for next time, or are you open to this? You know what I'm saying? Does that make a little bit of sense?
Yeah, and to legitimize the sport, you hit the nail right on the head, Matt. I mean, that's what we love about the sport, right? The people in this community, as you said earlier, they want to beat you at your best, right? I don't want to beat Ken Sanofsky because he's having a bad day, or Dave Preston, or Clay or Austin or whoever, right? I want to beat them when they're at their very best. So the last thing I want to do would be to go up and say, oh man, I held 2/10 when I held 4, and try and give them a bad day and try and beat them. I want to beat them because I'm better at that moment than they are at their best moment, because that's kind of how it is. And the same thing goes to how do we legitimize a sport, is that integrity. And I think most of the people in this game, at least for most of the time I've been in it, is most of the people have that integrity in this game where they want to help the other people be the best they can, so then they can balance themselves against that. And how do we make the sport better is we maintain that integrity all the way down through, right? So the cool thing about it is I can walk up to Brian Sykes and I can say, Brian, you're an asshole. And he might be like, he could be pretty upset about that. And then if he thinks about it for a minute, he's like, you know what? Yeah, that was kind of an asshole thing I did. You're right. And then totally moves on to the next thing, and everybody's good. Because as long as we're brutally honest with each other, we communicate things, we stay off we're on Facebook now, but we don't do the little bullshit Facebook attack other shooters when they're not there. Hey man, Matt, if you do something wrong, I'm going to say, hey Matt, dude, that's not cool. You need to not do that. And we kind of self-police ourselves and maintain that same integrity that we do to try and beat someone, to try and keep them, to bring them up and bring the whole sport up. And if you have a new shooter who's not doing something right, then you need to go up to him and say, hey man, this isn't how we do this. This is how we do this. And show them the right pass. And hopefully they follow those same guidelines where, then instead of being butthurt over it, they take it as, oh, hey, that's honest criticism. It's not, hey, I'm criticizing you to make you look bad. I'm criticizing you. I'm showing you a positive way to change, or why you do this wrong, or to do this better. And then you find a better way to do it. And then we all rise together. I mean, that's the cool thing, is we need to continue to rise together. We need to pick somebody up, not put them down. So no matter what, if you got somebody who, and if we have someone in this sport who doesn't do that, we need to not have them in this sport, right? We need to, we need to police that and keep that down, because as it grows and there gets to be money in the sport and there's going to be bigger egos and all that stuff is going to come in. That's not egos that were based on, originally my understanding of this is it started as team events where the guy relied on the guy next to him to save his life, right? So he needed him to be at his very best. So his goal was to push him up, and then they both got to be better, right? And, and that integrity has kind of stayed pretty good through this sport. But as we get bigger, we need to maintain that same level of growth where we take the entire shooting community and we rise it together, and we help everybody rise instead of try and tear somebody down. Let's make everybody better. And then if they can't meet those standards, well, then let's not have them in the community and let them find another game, right? Yeah. I think that's how we make this sport move forward. And that's what Tom's doing. And I'd say the most of the old timers in this community have all done that. And we just need to make sure as we get new people come in, they're kind of following that same path, is to just make everybody better, work together, be better. Don't be petty, just be everything you can to, if Matt gets better, I'm going to get better. Jenny, if you get better, I'm going to get better, right? No matter, everybody, you're a product of your competition. And if we rise each other, we rise the attitudes, we work together, we all we'll just be better competitors. We'll all think more positively. We'll have a better mental game. It's, that we, how many people have sent you, hey, you got to listen to this, Laney Bashing here. We'll send you Laney Bashing's video so you can get the right mental, mindset or whatever for the game. I mean, there's so many people trying to help people. I think we just need to maintain that same thing and keep breeding that back through the new shooters. And we're doing that like through Matt's range. I mean, and Ken's range, we're doing that with our new shooters that come into our region. Hey man, your goal is to do, this is what we expect of you. And if it's not what we're getting, we need to see that, or we're a little harder on you. And then, we generally get the outcome we're looking for. And then ones we don't have that, moving forward, well, then they tend to get weeded out.
And the really cool part about that, Keith, is we have guys, I'm going to touch on him real quick. Bill Ruckman. Bill Ruckman is a guy that he's been shooting this game way longer than I have. He's been an Ohio shooter. The first match I ever shot, he was there. He's super helpful dude, super safety minded. And, right now he's the number 3 tack guy in the country. He'll be heading down to the finale for the first time, and he is super excited. And I got the opportunity, he and I have been shooting together because he's local for me. We shoot together all the time. He's there with Keith, but Bill's the kind of guy that if I leave my mag in or I don't put a chamber flag in at the range, he calls me on it. And I appreciate that about my shooters. And it goes right back to that integrity that, Keith was just talking about. You got to be able to call each other on stuff, and it doesn't matter who you are in the game, as long as it's accepted. And I just say, "You're right, Bill. I screwed up," and I pull it out and I adjust those things. But yeah,
Thank you for telling me.
Well,
Exactly,
you got to be able
yeah.
to call each other out, but people have got to be able to be called out.
Yep. Agreed.
And there's a lot of people that don't want to be called out.
Well, I've gotten several text messages on this topic since we've been going on. It's like, just man up. Don't be a keyboard commando.
Yep. And so I couldn't agree more with what you guys said about, the biggest thing, is integrity. Another thing we got to look out for is safety.
Yes.
If we
probably need to move farther forward with that. Yes.
I could not agree more.
Because we have
there's not a lot of injuries, but I do think that the especially coming from 3-gun and USPSA into PRS, I think there's a lot more we can do safety wise.
Well, we're one of the fastest growing shooting sports in the country right now.
Definitely.
And now with production guns like the RPR, the Bagara, guys can pick it up.
That's Savage.
The Savage. There you go. There's a handful of them out there that you can get into the game, with a case of ammo for under $2,000. And these guys are showing up. They don't really know how to dial dope. They don't have fundamentals, and they're just kind of going out and, in a sense, spraying and praying, trying to get hits. And therefore they don't have that, those safety fundamentals that the rest of us all have. And we look forward, we look at and we address constantly at the range.
Yeah. I'd like to almost see I know the idea is to grow the sport, and it's growing, but I almost think we need to slow down and do a stepped up process where you have to go through X amount of time, before you can come shoot your first match. Gosh, I say this and I want everybody to come out and shoot, right? Well, I know if they come to the range with Matt, me, Ken, with that group, they're gonna get brought into it and shown all the safety from the beginning. But I think we need to build a little more safety rules in, or some stricter guidelines before, I don't know, maybe you wear a bright yellow ball cap and and a yellow t-shirt for your first 10 matches. And you know, anybody gets a magic marker, puts a mark on your back. And then if you get 2 marks, then you're not allowed to come back till 2 training classes. I don't know, something along that line, but I'd like to see us have a little more training before they come out, right?
I might still be wearing that vest. And I got shoes on right now. It's a little bit cold in here, so I can't count that high. I got to kick those off. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a, you know, like, hey, if this is your first match, you know, an hour before train up day starts, you have to be there, and you have to, you know, we'll bring you in a classroom. But, you know, I don't know.
Even having a buddy system at a match where if you're a new shooter, you need to raise your hand. Okay. And we've already asked for volunteers. Like, I would volunteer to do it at a match. I mean, shoot, I'm not that competitive. I have a competitive spirit, but I'm not like going to win a match. So
but you know the mechanics of
somebody. I would partner up with somebody. I know the fundamentals to teach them. I just can't execute them. But I would be perfectly happy to team up with it. Like at the NRL 22 matches that we have locally, every time there's new shooters, I'm like, put them on my squad. I love to sit there with new shooters and like try and help them on the clock and make sure that they're being safe. And then they usually end up, I mean, one of them I DQ'd and he loves me to death. First match, and I had to DQ him. I felt so bad, and he loves me, and is like, I learned so much from you. I'm like, I'm so sorry I DQ'd you.
Yeah, he's one of my like biggest helpers at my matches now. You know, his first match he came, you know, I'm kind of lazy. I'm like, oh, new shooter, Gen squad, new shooter, Gen squad, new shooter, Gen squad, and I fill her up with a bunch of new shooters, and then all of a sudden they keep coming back because they have such a good time. She really is a really good teacher, but yeah, like everybody just loves it having a coach.
Well, I'm sorry, a child just came in my door and scared me half to death. No, we're still live, but you're all right.
Imagine their feelings. There's a rifle pointed straight at the front door.
Pointed straight at the front door. He cut around that way to not be in the view of the camera. It scared me half to death.
Well, a cool thing we started doing at Matt's matches is, you know, when we, you know, the weekly matches and monthly matches is we have self-ROing for the most part, you know, where you have one person run and then the next person run the clock. And that's one thing we did is, so after you shoot, you're the second person to run the timer, right? So that person that runs the timer is now responsible for the safety of that shooter on the line, okay? Equally responsible. So if that person leaves the line without a chamber flag in or with a mag in or anything along that line, well, then not only is that competitor with his rifle responsible, it's the person with the timer, and the entire squad then has to rotate through to do that. If you're not comfortable running a timer, then someone will help you do that. But that way we're teaching to build better ROs. We're teaching better safety rules. Everybody is a range officer, basically that specific moment, as well as just everybody in the squad is a safety officer, but you're building each RO to have a responsibility, and everybody shooting competition has a responsibility for, you know, at least 2 stages of the match, right? Where they have to go around and they're running that timer, and it's their job, and they're an equal, you know, they could be, have to go to a safety class if someone leaves the line, you know, with a mag in, along with, I could have to go to a safety class if I let somebody leave the line, right? Because, hey, it was my responsibility to not let him leave till the chamber flag was in and the mag was out, you know, that kind of deal.
I couldn't agree more. And to quote Eric Lundberg, like super professional RO here. Safety is everybody's responsibility. ROs are a layer of it, but people have to watch out for each other, which is true. We have to make sure, we all have to make sure that our sport is safe, because if something dumb happens, and that's the only way to describe it, it's dumb. There is absolutely no reason for, you know, anything like somebody shooting themselves or shooting somebody else to ever happen at one of our matches.
Oh, you're right.
And we, you know, there is, if we follow simple safety rules, there's 0% chance of it ever happening.
Yep.
100%.
So it's something we all have to look out for. And then one last thing on how to, make our sport legit. Non-endemic sponsors. That's something that will help bring our sport mainstream. You get somebody to sponsor a match, and then, bring them out like, yeah, man, you're sponsoring us, you already agreed to write that check, come on out and check it out. And, then he tells somebody else and he tells somebody else. You can always help contribute to our sport. Whether it's, whether you work for Jim Bob's Landscaping or some other Fortune 500 company. And, if you think that, you got a buddy that's looking for some advertisement, anything like that, think about your local match director. It doesn't matter if you're like his number one best friend or you're like the dude that's there at your second match. You can always help our sport out by trying to, help seek outside sponsorships, because there's some people that were like, yeah, let's, go out and get it. But like anybody can help contribute to that. And there's no match director that you're going to go to and be like, hey, my boss said that he's willing to help sponsor a PRS match. How much would it cost? And the match director is going to be like, oh no, I don't need help. Like, we're all down for that.
Yes.
So, if you don't think that you can contribute to the sport, you definitely can in some way, shape, or form. We all have to work together to help grow our sport.
All right, so real quick, back to MDT. I want both of you to tell me, what is your favorite piece of MDT gear, or if you're like the chassis, then tell me what your favorite feature of it is.
I'm going to tell you right up, it's the ACC. And I guess if I was to give you a feature, it'd be its adjustability. But, I just love everything about it. I have 5 of them, and they're all configured the same way, and they all shoot really, really well, and they feel great. And one rifle to the next, I just pick it up and I can go to work with it, and there's no change. I don't skip a beat with them. And that's what I love the most about it.
Keith, how about you?
It really is the chassis. I thought all chassis were the same, right? I thought, okay, 20-pound chassis, 20-pound chassis. They're going to shoot the same, do similar things, and so forth. It's just the most adjustable, completely competition-driven piece of chassis. I mean, everything about that chassis was designed to make it the best competition product they can make. Its adjustability was a nightmare for me in the beginning because I didn't know where it needed to be until I realized that I need to spend time and figure out how to adjust it. And then once I had it adjusted, I'm seeing trace flying to the target from position more. Everything has just got better and better and better and better. So if I'm picking one of their products, it's the best. I mean, every time I try and pick apart that product, I really can't, the 90-degree mag well, the longer front end, the weights everywhere, internal, external, wherever you need it, whatever balance you need. If you want, if you want a bag rider, great. If you want a heavy bag rider, we got that. You want a light one, we got that. You want an internal weight for the rear, we got that. When they go to that little 12-inch buttstock, a little tiny one, it still uses all those same internal weights that you can put in back there. So they designed around all that. I mean, it's the chassis really is, the ACC chassis really is it. And personally, the van's pretty cool for me, right? That's a pretty cool piece of gear. So, if you're at a match and you forget a piece of gear, come look up me and Matt, because, we probably have gear on the truck for you. You want to try chassis, come see us, I don't care whose chassis you're running, or if you have something that's broke on yours, I probably have parts to fix it. I have parts for MPAs. I don't have a lot of foundations, but I don't know that they have a lot of parts. But I'm sure if I find out that there's a part I need, I'll call John Kyle and it's done, right? You know what I mean? They'll make sure that what's out there. We got Trigger Tech triggers on there. We got Kelbley parts. We got parts for Defiances. I've got I don't have an impact firing pin yet, tape, but I'm sure you'll get me one. Really just everything that I ever see break, we have on there. And if I don't have it, then the next time we try and have it, we got the Canadians coming in. They're finally allowed to cross the border. I don't know how Ryan's getting across the border, but he's coming to the finale. So he texted me. He's like, hey, I need a 12-round mag for a Creedmoor because I'm guessing you can't have them in Canada or you can't fly with them. I don't know which one. Yeah. So, we got a magazine for him that we're going to take down there. So he's got a magazine to use. Right.
I need y'all to come to the Gap Grind next year.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
Well,
somebody has
October-
really bad luck at the Gap Grind.
So October is a crazy month next year because the PRS finale is the first week. The PRS finale is the first week of November, and the AG Cup's like the fourth week of October. Right. And I'm running the regional finale the second week of October. So October.
It sounds like the first week you need to be at the Gap Grind because inevitably my rifle's going to go down.
So what you're saying is Ken Sanofsky's got to handle all the logistics for the PRS regional finale next year.
If I can't make the Gap Grind, I can mail you a spare rifle.
Dude, the last 2 years at Gap Grind, we won't talk about it anyway.
I drove 2 hours each way today to make a house call with the MDT van to get a guy's gun shooting for the finale. So that was my morning until about 6 o'clock today, is to make sure that someone who was able to shoot the finale was able to do it well. So we make house calls too sometimes. So
Jen, you might need to call Keith over.
George,
right. We'll meet you in Virginia. We'll meet you in Virginia. Meet you at Hawk Hill.
There you go. So the finale, speaking of that, y'all are both shooting the finale. Are you done after that?
Oh, heck no. Heck no. I've got club matches, and I've got league matches, and I've got 22 matches scheduled through the rest of December. So since the regional finale, that'll be 4 matches I've run since the regional finale, middle of November. And we start our season back, in February? I think we'll head down. My first match will probably be the frontline match. So lots of shooting.
I wonder if it's going to be snowing again this year.
It was better than the rain 2 years ago.
Hey, I made a snow angel this year in February at Frontline.
Oh, did you? Really?
I did. There was snow, and so I went and asked him. I was like, "Can I do a snow angel right there?" And he was like, "I don't care." So I went over and plopped and did a snow angel.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
For me, the finale will be the last thing that I'm going to have to shoot. But then Matt, I'm sure, has 2 or 3 little club things that I'll go shoot for a day and come back, whatever they happen to be. I'm kind of looking forward to being away from the 2 days, though, for a month or two. I shot way too many in a row this year, back to back, with the COVID, just packing everything into July, August, and September. And next year, I'm, really looking forward to Frontline and getting start with the first match on the East Coast and kind of working my way, to that and more rifles. And then Matt's is in June, I think, right?
April and June. Okay. Yeah. So it'll be pretty busy right away. So I wouldn't mind taking a month off. But I'll probably have a week and a half off, and then I'll shoot a 22 match with Matt, and then another week off, and I'll shoot another regional, with Ken and Matt and those guys. So yeah,
sounds
fun. There's no time off. No time off.
No rest for the weary, right?
No.
No rest for the winning.
That's right. That's like the where we saw y'all. You were out practicing in the snow and ice, and I can't remember who it was that reposted it. I think it was Rich Dias reposted it and said, "This is why, this is why he wins, or why he shoots well, because he's out there practicing." Basically,
really, he couldn't see 100 yards out when he posted that picture. It took him 4 hours to get home from the range, and we got 12 inches of snow that day.
And he did drop 12 inches of snow. I drove my 4-wheel drive truck there just to make sure that I could make it home. And I thought, well, I'm going to shoot. It was so bad. That snow in my scope, I had to clean it out every 10 minutes. Like, I would go to shoot and I could see 100 yards and then I couldn't. And then I could see 400. I drove 3 hours. I was hoping I'd be able to shoot. I sat there for 8.5 hours and shot every opportunity I had throughout the entire day, and froze my butt off the rest of it. And that scope filled up. I had 2 sunshades on that and a beer koozie to try and keep the sun off the optic. and I would take them out and dump them out about every 20 minutes. And I was 15 feet back under a canopy. The snow was just dead horizontal. So I wouldn't say that it was good practice. I had good intent and I tried my butt off to practice, but I looked like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. I had so many clothes on. I couldn't touch my toes. I couldn't hardly run a barricade. I couldn't do anything. I did get a barrel for the most part, broke in and squared away. And
Well, that's
really,
what
I
I'm
was
going to
just
look
shooting
like in
for the place,
Oklahoma.
right? I was like,
I don't like the cold.
Jen, that's what you
Like
look
the-
like in 50 degrees in Georgia.
I know. That's what I'm going to look like at the finale because I don't like to be cold. I have one live, and then I'll see if Greg has any live. So Missy wants to know, what are your top 3 Pro Series matches this year? Favorite?
Whew.
If you don't say Wisconsin, you might be in trouble. I'm just saying it came from
That's
Missy
what
Wheeler.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Now, Wisconsin was probably one of my favorite matches this year. I shot really, really well there. I always like going up to New Hampshire. Keith and I went up there, and we did 2 days of training with guys up there prior to the match. So we were up there for what, 7 days, Keith?
yeah,
And that was a really good.
I drove the whole way.
Hey, after we dropped off Mark Lee at the airport in Vermont, I had like 6 hours of drive time before we pulled over on some highway on the New York, we could have got arrested for being pulled over at, napping at a truck stop on a New York interstate, because we all have 12-round mags in the van,
Right.
But but no, I always like shooting New England. It's a fun match. I was really sad that Meaford got canceled this year. I like going up there. I missed Drew Walters' match. That was my 1 week this year. I took a break. I needed a week off. What else was it? And I think the AG Cup would have been probably in my top 3 for sure. Pig River's always a really, really great match.
That was a lot of fun.
Josh Bandy puts on a really good show down there. He makes sure he takes care of everybody really good.
They had a bear. You could have tried to shoot it and redeemed yourself.
I saw the bear. I have a bear. I shot a bear the year later in Canada. Okay. All right. Sassing me again.
It was in a fence. He had a candy bar in his pocket and it was coming for it, but he shot a bear.
Hey, don't tell my secrets.
Keith,
Right.
your favorite matches?
Okay, so I really can't put 3 down. I will say that there's about 5 that I really, really, really enjoyed. Drew Walters'
one
match
better
at
be
War
mine.
Rifles. Right, yeah. Drew Walters' match at War Rifles was pretty on point. It was the year before. It was hard as hell. It was small targets, very AG Cup like. Every stage had something that took that tested something else, right? Every skill was tested amongst 20 stages, and there was no stage that was completely clean. Every stage could be cleaned, but very few stages were cleaned. So you could drop 4 or 5 points on one and hit 9 or 10 on the other, kind of like AG Cup numbers. And it was very up and down. And it was just a really well organized and designed match. Okay. It broke some hearts, but it was also just, it really tested the shooter in 20 different ways. Not to see who could shoot the best small targets from a belly, not to see who the best positional shooter was, who the shooter that could do this and then engage multiple targets and come up with a plan. I mean, each stage just had a little piece to it. And it was really impressive. And that's the second time he's done that. And that's pretty cool. And he had 350 shooters there or 300 shooters there. I mean, I don't know if any Pro Series match that had all pros that had as many there as he had. So Matt's match has been, last year was my favorite. This year, I'd probably lean towards Drew a touch more, but it was in my top matches, right? It's a match that it's my kind of match. We didn't shoot off our belly. I don't think the entire match, maybe one stage. Did we shoot
12 rounds off your belly?
Shot 12 rounds of a 200 and some round match off position, right?
188 shots taken positionally.
And the average distance of that was 500-600.
700.
Yeah. It was pretty freaking awesome. Right. And so that's a cool match. Josh Bandy always does such a fantastic job. He caters to everybody. He's got just this beautiful manicured range. Still a fairly positional match, not a lot of belly work. I really like shooting there. Somebody wants Matt to drink again.
I'm out. I'm drinking water now. I'm into my glass of water.
Okay, AG Cup, obviously, last year was the best match I ever shot in my life. This year, if I made the third day, it probably would have been 2. But no, it was another one of those good matches. I really like that where you're on your own, right? Where it is, you're reading to win, you're not sharing information. All the shooters are there because they want to be. And so I think we need to help shooters most of the time, like in the club series. And I think the pro series ought to start being a little tougher. I think the targets should be smaller in some of the pro series matches. I think they should be harder to hit, right? I think pro series matches should have a 70% hit rate. So whenever somebody does an amazing job, it really stands out how much better they were that day instead of someone didn't make a mistake that day, right? So Josh's match would fall right in there. The Wisconsin and the Michigan matches, I really enjoyed the way, especially the Wisconsin match. They catered to us real well. They put a lot of thought and effort into their course of fire. They had that helicopter, and man, they even thought to put music inside of it that was, Apocalypse Now coming in there stuff. It was, they what they tried to do is build a better event. And, I really like the match directors that take the extra step, right? It shows in a lot of ways. It shows, in their creative match, they don't run the same match 4 years in a row, right? They don't just not move any targets and do the same thing and just try and collect competitors' money or get a lot of shooters in and out or whatever. They put effort into their prize tables. Not that the prize table matters as much, but it's just that you can see the ones that actually are putting extra effort in to try and help the shooters out, right? They're just doing that extra little bit, right? And they're trying to make an event that you want to come back to. Wisconsin would be in there, and I know I had one more in the top of my head a minute ago, and I can't remember what it was.
And you hit the nail on the head. The Michigan guys, like Michigan, Nate and Ken, they both work together up there, and it is all about the shooters.
Yes.
They do everything that they can do to make sure that the shooters are taken care of, right down to, if they walk past you and you don't have a cold beer in your hand at the end of the day, they grab you one. Sometimes they, tackle you. But it's one of the coolest things. I've never gotten thank you notes from matches until I've been to Wisconsin and Michigan. I just got a postcard from Michigan. It said, "Hey, look forward to coming back," with a little handwritten note on the back that can't wait for you to come down, to come down to your match next year. So those guys do a really awesome job. So.
Yeah. And there's one more, and I can't remember who it is. So I'm sorry right now.
Alzheimer's. It's all right.
Yeah,
so Matt.
Yes.
I think you have something for us.
I do. So I had a pretty good conversation with Mark Gordon. He's the owner, lead gunsmith at Short Action Customs. And, they're doing a ton of awesome stuff over there at Short Action Customs right now. He's been getting into the making of reloading components, dies, specifically tools, gunsmithing tools. He's got the modular barrel wrench. I know I saw one at Keith's, on Keith's workbench. I know a lot of guys throughout the country have them. The barrel vices, they've been huge. But his dies right now are probably second to none. And he was telling me last night that they're just starting to come out with their Magnum series. I know they're going to do a 6.5 and a 300 PRC Magnum series die. And then the other piece of it is they're working on their new series of resizing dies that are case family specific. So if you've got a 6.5 Creed and you decide to go out there like one of my teammates, Doug Derringer, and shoot every coyote in the country, he shoots a 22, he might shoot a 22 Creed. Well, the resizing die because it's in that same Creedmoor body family, you just need the die body, and you can buy the different inserts, kind of like you would with the Redding dies. But they're specific, they'll adjust the shoulder for you. And, I'm probably not doing this any justice, but you can get your neck tension modified and everything. And then say, if you want to go to 6'5", you just switch out the bushings and you can go resize your 6'5" die. So you just need one die realistically for all the calibers, right? I know they're working on a by 47 family. So if you're doing the 6'5" by 47 or the 647, I know they're going to be working on a BR family as well. Those will be coming out here in the very near future. But they told me to, hey, if you guys want to get anything off the website, rifle builds, parts, tools, anything that they offer on the site, you can use Stiner 10, all lowercase, for the next 24 hours. It gets you 10% off of anything that they've got at the shop. Even if you order it and it's back ordered, it just, I think it's a pretty good saving. So if you're looking to get some tools, if you're looking for a barrel vise, or even, a gun build, 10% off of a custom gun build is a pretty good deal. So Stiner 10, if you guys are interested, shoot Mark an email, mark@shortactioncustoms.com. Call the shop, talk to Sarah. She's just awesome. She'll walk you through anything that you need at the shop, builds, parts, tools, you name it. They're just awesome over at the shop. I really like my SAC rifle. It's probably the most accurate rifle I've ever shot. So, and I also heard they do really, really good paint jobs.
You can get a green rifle.
You can get a green rifle there. My teammate,
lime green?
Teammate, like what you have, absolutely, they could do that. My teammate Allison Zane, she gets some really cool Tiffany blue chassis done up by the team over there. So
that's awesome.
But Stiner 10, if you guys want anything from Short Action Customs, and also anybody that's looking for membership, MKM, formerly Rockland Precision, we're doing a 10% off membership till the end of the month. And we're going to actually send out we're going to do an email blast to a lot of people. But if you don't get that email blast and you're in Western Michigan or Western New York, Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio, you guys are looking for a solid range to be at, we're doing 10% off membership till the end of the month. Shoot me a message, shoot me an email, and we'll get you membership packet information as well.
George is probably too far.
That's a pretty cool range. I mean, they go out to 1,200 yards. The standard range has KYL racks from 300 all the way out to 1,000 every 100 yards. That basically you can get your data all the way down to, I think it's 2-inch squares at 400 and 4-inch. I don't remember, but they're pretty small all the way out. So it's great to get data with berms behind it. Plus they got a 600 and some yard mover. Which is
cool.
Pretty impressive. Yeah, it's a cool
range.
Yeah,
it's really cool. We've got a dual, basically it's a dual 1,000-yard range setup that we could run simultaneously, and we're in the midst of putting in a 650 heavy positional range. But like he said, on our main range, we have a 630 mover, and we've got KYL racks from 300 to 1,000. So there's no shortage. There's about 80 pieces, 80, 90 pieces of steel per range. So there's nothing that you can't do. And we'll have use of the side-by-side. You need to go down and paint, do all that kind of stuff. So it's a really great range if you're looking to get out and do some stuff.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, Greg, we got any? Oh, go ahead.
Yep. So Joe said it's not actually Tiffany blue. It's blue is the color of the tier of all of the full-grown men that she beats.
Oh.
My face should be blue because I should look like a Smurf after shoot. I shoot with that girl all the time. So does Matt. And I think if it was just blue tears, then we would be pretty black and blue right now.
Seriously.
Yeah.
She's tearing it up.
She is. And God bless her.
With a smile.
She's super great. But, the one thing that we notice about her compared to a lot of other people is she really takes the time. She's a student of the game. She listens to everything that we say. She doesn't take our criticisms to heart like some people might. She takes them and then she goes back to her garage, to her little dry fire range, and works on them. Right. And, and that's, the thing is, and there's so many people, and it's really a weird thing. And I tell this to her dad all the time. There's so many people in this sport that are so busy, telling her how good she is and how this, that sometimes she needs some people to just kind of, hey, here's what you need to do, kind of be that big brother, big uncle that, just kind of lays it out there to her. And she responds really, really well to it. Mm-hmm. And, and the one thing I've always told her dad is I'm like, she's going to be doing this a lot longer than I'm going to be. So if I can help her be successful, if Keith can help her be successful, that's the plan.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. Greg, any more lives?
Missy said when she grows up, she wants to be Allison.
That's funny.
I love Missy to death. She actually messaged me during this and was like, oh my God, did you cut your hair? Because I had my hair like this. And she came on and she was like, oh my God, tell me you didn't cut your hair. That's why I went like this. I was like, there you go, Missy. Still there. Did not cut the hair. Anyway, any more lives?
We good.
We will wrap it down to shout outs then. Greg, I'm going to let you hit it.
We still got 57 people watching. That's pretty awesome.
Know. It is. Yeah, y'all are going to be the longest show in history. So Pat Kelly before, I love Pat Kelly to death. One of my favorite people in the industry. He has been on 2 or 3 times. And the second time that he was on, he wanted to be the longest TSM show. And I think our record was like 1 hour and 57 minutes. So he was like, oh, we're staying on like 2 hours and 3 minutes. And towards the end, he was just like stalling because he wanted to stay on. Well, we're like at 2 hours and I don't know, 12 minutes, something like that, maybe, because we were a couple minutes late. So y'all will have just beat Pat Kelly.
We were a couple minutes late, or just me?
Just you.
Maybe
we were all here. We were
maybe
all here
just the you part of we was late, but I was trying to be nice. I'll only dog you to your face behind, not in front of other people.
Right.
All right. So my shout outs, GSL suppressors. At some point in time, hopefully soon, this beautiful lime green rifle and my other beautiful lime green rifle are both going to be a lot more civilized. They're going to have some really awesome suppressors on the end of it. Right now, they're in ATF jail at Crackshot Pawn and Firearms in Thompson, Georgia. Shooters and Sharpshooters of Augusta, our local indoor and outdoor range, where I go and do all my low development practice, all that fun stuff. PDC Custom, beautiful lime green right there. They also have normal human colors as well. Shooter's World Powder. They actually still have powder. Like, that's the only thing I'm not worried about right now. Like, I would do very bad things for primers or bullets or anything, but like powder, I just gotta shoot them a text and get some. Hunter's HD Gold, because I am blind as a bat and I don't feel that way when I'm wearing their glasses. They have regular HD lenses, prescription HD lenses, or for some of the older folks on the show, they have bifocal lenses. Vortec to keep your rifle nice and clean, and that's it.
It's funny that you brought up those primers, because did you guys see that Area 419 dropped an email yesterday and in 18 minutes sold 300,000 primers?
That is
I didn't
ridiculous.
Get any, and I'm sad.
Me too.
Yep.
Wow,
I missed it.
That's very unfortunate for me.
At least you got I didn't even get an email.
I was coming back from lunch at work, and I get a text from Ken Sanofsky. Hey, did you see the email from Area 419? And I go, no, I'm driving home from lunch. He goes, check it out. I'll send it to you. He resent it to him. By the time he said he was going to resend it to me, I opened it up and it was there. And I'm all right. I'm going to take 5,450s, submit. And it froze for like a split second. And I'm like this in my car, like, no. And then it said transaction completed. So I was excited.
It's not even
I put
fair.
myself on the wait list. So
you might be waiting.
I'm going to be waiting 5 years. I got 500 primers over there. I got enough to get through the AG Cup, and then I'm shooting 22. Or I'm going to find some, 308 ammo. and just start shooting factory ammo.
So,
next year.
308, that's great. I need some large rifle primers. Maybe we can make some trades.
I got some large
primers.
if you want to give some small.
I might consider. I've got 3,000 large BR2s that I've been shooting out of the 308, and I'm going to do a split season next year where I shoot 308 and the BR, because I can't just let Mark Cooper keep running away with tactical championships or whatnot. So
It's going to be an interesting year.
I know, I'm excited.
So what shout outs do you have, Matt?
Got Vortex Optics, they've been awesome. MDT, I am so fortunate to be a part of that company and those people. They've really taken care of me and made me feel like part of the family. Short Action Customs, I can't say enough. Mark has really provided me with some accurate rifles. MKM, Precision, the range that Ken and I and Mark are running. I look for really awesome, good things to happen there. Trigger Tech, Mark up at Trigger Tech, he's done a really good job, providing some high quality triggers that I really enjoy using. I've been so blessed to be a part of all this, and I'm really excited to, I love to give back because of all these people and everything that they've helped me achieve. So, that's why I'm so apt to giving guys opportunities, guns, ammo, whatever I can give them at the range to be involved. So
That's awesome. Keith, what you got for shout outs?
Everything you buy, make sure you buy it from someone who's seriously invested into this sport, because this sport's driven from itself. But so my shout out 100% is MDT. I mean, wow, 100% service driven company. Anytime, I've never seen a situation where they haven't done everything to take care of the customer in the right way. Nick from Vortex, same thing. Vortex Optics. I mean, if we've had a couple times where we needed to help someone out and we make a phone call and we get, the right people are getting helped out the right ways, right? I mean, they're just fantastic. Hawk Hill barrels. I mean, Bricks is the best barrel stroker there is. That dude's got to have forearms like Popeye, man. I mean, those guys are great. They've helped me a lot. They helped my business a lot, helped me start my business, helped me build things. They've helped direct me to the right people. Those guys are just, man, they're gold times 10, and then Lone Peak Arms, I'm loving the actions. Those guys are great. I wanted to make a little change. I got all kinds of prototypes and different things. I mean, they seem like the company you want to work with, right? They're making great products and trying to always make it better. And that's the thing, you take those companies that make a good product, and the ones that aren't afraid to change, to continue to evolve and make it a little better and a little better. And that's MDT. If they can make it better, well, let's do it. And if you can tell us how and why, we'll figure out, where to make the time and how to make it, marketable. If it's better, that's what they want to have. Their Shoot Better logo isn't about being a better competitive shooter. It's about being a better person and doing it right? Shoot as a better person, be a better competitor, not necessarily a higher score, right? And their equipment gets you there. And they put their money where their mouth is. I mean, I can't tell you how many people that if they handed me a magazine, they said, "Oh, I'm having problems with, here, take this, go, try that." And I don't have to justify it, right? They want to do right by everything. So anyway, MDT, Vortex, Bricks and Sean, greatest people, Steven, for your knowledge, and Lone Peak, and just a community of precision rifle shooters. I mean, it's so awesome to be a part of Team Precision Rifle, not Team MDT, not Team MPA, not Team Vortex, not Team Night Force. It's just, Team Precision Rifle, and being a part of this community and the great people in it. That's why I decided to not make as much money and build guns.
Yep, I agree. It's a great community. I love it. That's like at AG Cup. I didn't know who to root for because I love everybody in this sport anymore. So it's just funny. So shout outs for me. I've got Night Force Optics, McMillan Stocks, Prime Ammo, Shooters of Augusta, and Sharpshooters of Augusta. And awesome people that are helping me get to the finale. Sean Murphy, Regina Milkovich, and Corey Adamski are all kind of contributing to me getting there because I'm kind of being a mutt right now. But anyway, awesome people, and I appreciate everybody in the sport. And that is going to be a wrap for the longest episode of TSM, episode 320. That's it. We'll see y'all next week.
Thanks, guys. See you later.